Hi there, and welcome back to Mudwalkers. My name is Chris. If you're not already subscribed here on YouTube, do hit the subscribe button. It helps me a lot. We are getting close to 800 subscribers, and when we get to 1,000, I can start contemplating monetization. That's not all of it, is necessary, but it's one of the biggest metrics. Also, occasionally, you'll see me point to video cards up here and talk about videos that are being included. On Vimeo, you won't see the cards. Just look for those in the description below. If you follow me on social media pretty closely, then you already know that my wife gave birth to our third child in early December. So if I seem a little bit off, it's because I am sleep deprived. Having a newborn in the house and changing diapers in the middle of the night, etc., etc. It's an adventure, and I'm loving it mostly. But overall, it's great. I wouldn't trade being a dad. It's great. We're adjusting, and over the first, 2 weeks or so, our sleep schedule looks really weird, but then we kind of settle into a new groove, the baby groove, and after that, it's great. But enough personal stuff. Let's get into the video. So, what if I told you that if you worked out 5 days a week for 2 years, you would get the body of your dreams, and your mental health and confidence would improve dramatically? Probably even a big cognitive step up as well. You'll think better, you'll reason better, you'll be able to remember things, etc., etc. And what if that was 100% guaranteed? Would you do it? What about food? What if I told you that if you just avoided the foods that you already know are bad for you, foods and drinks that you already know are bad for you, if you avoided those for 2 years, your physical and mental health would improve dramatically over the course of the next 2 years? What if that was 100% guaranteed to you, and I gave you that challenge? Would you do it? Honestly, if we're honest with ourselves, most of us wouldn't. And the reason that I know that is because there are a lot of people here in the modern, first world, the West, the Anglosphere, whatever you want to call where you're from. The fact is that most people know what's good for them to a much greater extent than what they're actually doing. Most people know that you need adequate sleep at night, but a lot of people don't do that. Most people know that for your mental health and your physical health, you need some time off. A lot of people don't take time off, not significant, not adequately. A lot of people know that there's such a thing as junk food and superfoods and vitamins, and people eat badly anyway. So I already know that most of us are not going to do these things, the exercise, the diet, etc., because most of us already know more than we're doing, and we don't do it. And there's one fundamental reason why, I think, and that's the point of this video. There are lots of reasons why people don't do these things, but one of the most important ones is that these things are just hard to do. People don't do these things because they're hard. People just refuse to do hard things. People are getting weaker, people are getting dumber, people are more depressed, people have chronic illnesses. People are getting cancers. People have joint pain at astonishingly young ages. They lack purpose. They lack meaning. They lack discipline. All kinds of things are happening to people right now at huge rates that were rare or unheard of or greatly decreased in the ancient world. And it's not a great spot for humanity to be in. This isn't a panacea, and it's not going to solve all of life's problems, but it is a big solution to a lot of problems. And it's a simple thing that we can do to improve our lives, all of us. Now, I've said for years that there's a big difference between simple and easy. My big analogy for that is digging a tunnel through a mountain. That's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple concept to just drill straight through solid stone and just make the road straight through the mountain. Trouble is that however simple something may be, is difficult. And you know what? Digging through a mountain can be complicated because of all the infrastructure and the support beams and all those kinds of things. But let's just look at it really simply. What if there's a 2-ton boulder sitting in your driveway or in the middle of the road, and someone tells you, oh, why don't you just go, pick it up and throw it into the field? Well, it's really simple, but it's very difficult. So, yeah, I thought I would throw that out there, that there's a difference between simple and easy. On with the show. Challenge yourself. Do things that scare you. Do things that you're not sure you can accomplish. Do things that you think you may fail at. Obviously, don't do things that you're pretty sure are going to kill you. Don't try to, jump out from in front of a speeding bus at the last second because you think that'll be challenging and hard. Don't do stuff like that. What I'm saying is do things that you think will challenge you. Here are some examples. Things can be socially difficult. One of the things that happened to me as a child was my parents got me involved in a church sports team, and I was ridiculously introverted and shy. I didn't want to spend time with these kids that I didn't know, and so we showed up. My parents literally dragged me out of the car and pushed me out into the field and then left. And that was great. I needed that. I was miserable, and it was very difficult for the first day, but by the time they picked me up, I was all in. I had a great time, made some new friends, etc., etc. It was good for me. It was very difficult, but it was good for me, and I'm very grateful for that. Something else that happened in my childhood, or not my childhood, my adolescence, my dad built us a tree house up in a gum tree over our trampoline. And my big brother got the bright idea, hey, this thing is only about 10 feet, well, not the platform was 10 feet above the ground, so it's only about 7 feet from the top of the trampoline. My brother said, hey, I have a bright idea. Why don't we jump from the platform to the trampoline? And I kind of was nervous about that, but then he did it, and he wasn't injured, and my younger brothers did it, and they were not injured, so I thought, hey, I'll try it too. So I got up there, and I stood on the edge of the platform, right, looking down at the trampoline, and I stood there for, gosh, I don't even know how long. It might have been 2 minutes, it could have been 10 minutes, I don't remember, but it felt like a really long time. So I stood there over the platform, and I couldn't make myself do it. So finally what I told myself is, just break it down into physical steps, a physical process, and just don't think about the outcome. So the physical process was just do a little hop forward and then put my legs out in front of me like I was going to sit down. I told myself just focus on that and not on the end result. And so finally I was able to focus enough, concentrate, and I just executed it. And you know what? I landed on the trampoline and it was fine and it was fun. I actually enjoyed it, and I went back and I jumped off the trampoline several more times that day and had a blast. It was very hard to do, but I did it and it was great. Also, I had a deeply formative experience in Nicaragua in 2012. Okay, well, I had a lot of formative experiences that summer. It was life-changing, honestly, that trip. But one of the things that really, one of the biggest things that happened that really changed my life was killing a pig. So we made friends with some butchers in this little village in the Nicaraguan mountains near the town of Mazatepe, which is near the city of Masaya, if you're looking for it on a map. But made friends with this little butcher family, and they invited me, said, hey, why don't you come and kill the pig yourself one night? You know, we're butchering these pigs for the village, and why don't you come out and we'll let you cut the pig's throat? And I was the kind of kid, as a kid, who would burst into tears if he saw a dead raccoon or a dead dog on the side of the road. Just big animal lover. And I still am. I love animals. But so I went back to the mission compound and I told my mom, because I was staying with her, I told my mom, I don't know if I can do that, but I don't know if I want to not do that. I told her that I'm pretty sure that it's going to be one of the best things I've ever done, or it's going to scar me for life. And I have to know which one it's going to be. I have to know. So I ultimately made the decision to do it because I had to know what was going to happen to me. I had to know what this was going to do to my mental health. And I went, and the first time that I was there, I chickened out. I didn't end up slitting the pig's throat, and the butcher did it, but I saw that pig die, and I watched him gather the blood in a bucket, and that was life-changing. And the next time he invited me out, I did. I slit the pig's throat myself. Now, for those of you who may be thinking it's inhumane, if you shoot a deer in the field, the deer could actually take hours to die in some cases. But these pigs lost consciousness in under 30 seconds, and they were dead in under a minute. So don't think this is inhumane. It's actually a really, really efficient way to give these animals a quick and relatively painless death. Now, granted, the best thing to do to kill them quickly would be to shoot them in the head. But I guarantee you, you don't just want to start shooting guns off in the middle of a mountain village in a third world country. So for the resources and situation, this was the best way to humanely kill these pigs. But I digress. It was really great, and it was a positive experience for me in my life. It taught me a lot. I actually have a whole video about that experience here, where I talk about the fact that this experience helped me really learn what meat is. Like, I've always eaten meat, but I didn't really know what meat was. I knew what meat was up here, but I didn't know it in here. And now I do know in here what meat is because I had that experience. And I would encourage all of you, if you can, if you are a meat eater, if you're a vegetarian or vegan or whatever, then just skip. But if you do eat meat, I would encourage you, find some way to get involved in the slaughter of an animal. If you're going to eat meat, then try to understand it. And it's been a great experience for me. And now I actually have the wherewithal to help out with the invasive species in Louisiana. I haven't had any kills yet, but I'm working on it. I'm hunting hogs, and hopefully I'll be able to help keep their numbers in check because they are just absurdly ecologically destructive. Well, we'll see how it goes. This episode of Mudwalkers has been brought to you by my generous supporters over on Patreon. Shout out to Nature Him, Todd, Edward, John S., Joseph, Charlie, Lionheart, Nudist Lifer, Adam M., Edward T., Jay Good, Cyan B., John W., Clifton M., None Here, Marty, Austin S., Martin C., Benjamin M., JLDL, Corky S., Kent L., John F., Jeremy H., Richard M., PJ H., Tom L., David B., Joe S., Cedric, Chim K., and Dennis R. Guys, thank you so much for all your support on Patreon. You guys are making my content possible. You're keeping my work sustainable. I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing on Patreon. Like I said, you're making this possible. Mudwalkers is set to do big things in 2024, bigger than I've done previously. And that is possible because of Patreon. If you guys would like to see Mudwalkers continue to get bigger and better and make frequent high-quality content, by all means, check out the link in the description below, patreon.com/mudwalkers. Check out my link tree as well to find my content on Vimeo. And with that, let's get back to the video. Okay, so a side of me that doesn't show up much in Mudwalkers is my martial arts background. No, I was never a black belt by any means. But in my early 20s, I decided to start taking martial arts because, I'm relatively fit. And my reflexes are decent, but there's a whole other dimension to fighting that you get from actually, number one, learning from a master, and number two, actually sparring with skilled opponents. It's one thing to go, or do your whole kick thing in the air. It's something else when someone's hitting you back, okay? Very different. Or in this case, wrestling. Judo is Japanese wrestling. It means the gentle way, and there's a whole neat history behind it. I decided to do judo because I wanted to do jujitsu, but I kept hearing of the horrific injuries people got training in jujitsu, so I decided to start with judo, so I didn't get scared off or injured. But anyway, after a couple years in judo, I took this one throw that we learned. In judo, there's a lot of, yes, wrestling, but there's a lot of throwing as well. You learn how to do those cool things where you grab someone's arm and you can just go, whoop-ah! You get to throw them on the ground and everything. And you're taught how to safely fall, and we have, cushions and whatnot that we throw people onto when we practice so that you don't die. But it's really fun and very useful. I actually have had a couple of instances in life outside the dojo where judo concepts have really, really helped me in physical interactions with people that were, let's say, less than civil. That was, people coming at me. And, but yeah, there's this one throw, Yoko Otoshi. It was my favorite throw at the time. You can look it up on YouTube. It's really, really cool. You kind of drop to one side and you pull the person's arms out like that, and the person ends up, flying over your head if you do it properly. and landing on the ground to the side or behind you. And so I was sparring. It's called randori or randori, and I didn't have a stick, obviously, and so we're you know, each of us is trying to throw the other one to the ground, right, and win essentially. So we're sparring, we're doing randori, and I had just been practicing Yoko Otoshi a lot that week, so I decided to just see if it would work. So I grabbed my opponent's gi and I dropped into Yoko Otoshi, and he went flying over my shoulder. He fell great. His technique was pretty good. He was a green belt and I was a yellow belt, so he outranked me quite a bit. So he was way more skilled in ukemi falls than I was, and he gave me a compliment that the throw was well timed, well executed. It was a great exchange. Now granted, if he had been going full force on me and not been going easy on me, I probably couldn't have thrown the throw. But because he outranked me so much, he had this attitude like you're supposed to, oop, bumping the camera. He had this attitude like you're supposed to with lower ranks, that you're just going to relax and help the other person, you know, get his practice in. And so I don't think he expected me to throw Yoko Otoshi. But it was fun for him, it was fun for me, great experience. But the reason I bring up that story is because when I started out in judo, I sucked at judo. Horrible. I was not good. I was not good at judo. But you know what? I kept going back. People were very encouraging, very nice. And eventually, I was able to do things like throw Yoko Otoshi. I was able to submit higher belts than me when we were doing ground randori, which is the wrestling that happens on the ground as opposed to up on your feet. And I got to where I was decent for my belt rank. Now, granted, I was never a black belt. I never even reached a green belt. The highest I ever got in judo was barely reaching orange belt. So I'm not, you know, great at judo or something. But because I worked at it, I became very decent in that rank. So I want to encourage you that doing things that challenge you, things that you're not very good at, things that you will fail at first, is really, really good for you. The level of confidence and satisfaction I got out of practicing judo over and over and over and over again until I was decent at that rank was deeply satisfying. And like I said, it was a boost to my confidence, not just, you know, oh yeah, I think I can take him. Yeah, I'm a tough guy now. So like there was a little bit of that, but it was mostly just that, wow, I can learn things. I can persevere. I can accomplish something. I can get good at things that scare me. And yeah, so I highly recommend martial arts. I think if you are able-bodied and able-minded, you should take a martial art, even if it's just for a year or something. You know, take it long enough to get the basics of it. And I think that I'm going to spread out and try a few different martial arts over the next few years, and you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm especially interested in Kenjutsu right now. There's also a second school of Japanese swordsmanship that I'm looking at right now. They actually have a YouTube channel, and it's pretty cool. But I digress. Let's move on to the next category. Or story. These are really stories, not categories, but you get what I mean. Okay, so in editing this video, I found that it was much longer than anticipated. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off right here, and we're going to make a part 2. So keep an eye out for the next few days, and you'll see part 2 coming out very shortly in the regular scheduled time. In the meantime, have a great week, and get outside.